senior Debbie Hip. Number 10, sophomore Sophia Long. Number 20, sophomore Trinity Baker. Number 22, junior Alexis Booker. And number 23, sophomore Eve Schwendley. The Whippets are coached by Natalie Lance and assisted by Scott Gurney. And now for your lady presidents. At guard, a 5'10" sophomore, number 0, Cameron Jackson. At guard, a 5'6" sophomore, number 1, Anaya Mitchell. At the wing, a 5'8" senior, number 2, Paige Howard. At guard, a 5'6" junior, number 5, Janae Bray. And at forward, a 5'8" senior, number 32, Gracie Thompson. Presidents are coached by Corey White.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a Harding High School Telecom production. And my name is Scott Cameron. Tonight we have a varsity girls basketball matchup between the Prexies of Marion Harding and the Whippets of Shelby, the Lady Whippets. And kind of a early season tough schedule here for the Presidents, facing some really good competition early on in the season. However, they were able to serve up a win against the Galleon Tigers, but just a few days ago, as you were able to watch and listen earlier. And but Shelby tonight comes in at 2-1, 1-0 in the league, whereas the Marion Harding girls team is 1-2 overall, 1-0 in the league. Tipped off, and Powers has the ball and given off eventually from Jackson to Mitchell. Again, the Harding ladies starting the season off with some tougher games. Some of the problems they've had is keeping control of the ball, but able to put up a good showing there with Thompson putting in a kiss off the glass. Whippets bringing the ball down the floor. Dribbled to the center, and there will be a foul there. And Schwemley was driving all the way around the key and with aggression, so she wasn't even looking for anything down in the paint or any other pass. She gets the foul, and the first foul will be on Thompson. Very physical player for Harding. Sometimes she just has her way, and it puts her in a little bit of a bind at times, but nonetheless, here comes Shelby as a ball right to the face, but held on by Schwemley. Schwemley drives in, and there is a cut to the middle of the paint, and it's given away. Jackson gets the ball. Dribbles down, looking to the left, finds Mitchell. Mitchell gives a kiss off the glass, didn't get through the glass. Schwemley looks all the way down the court and given off to Hip. Nope, not Hip. And oh, boy, put in there by Sophia Long. Got her rebound off the miss and gets the and one. And one thing that has kind of hurt the Prexies also early on is foul troubles. We found there were some situations in foul problems early on in games as we missed the opportunity for a defensive board. Shelby will retain possession. Looking around. Baker can't find anyone. Eventually settles in. Cut to the middle there by Hip. Hip gives it off, but kicked out of bounds. And it will retain here with the Whippets. Tied 2-2. Still early in the game. Shelby comes out of box formation. 22 fades off to the side. Hook around. Hip gets the ball. Out to Schwemley. Schwemley continues to drive in and finds her way to the bucket to put it in. giving Shelby a 4-2 lead. Mitchell walks the ball down the floor. Met by Long as Shelby settles in the 1-3-1 zone. Anytime you have a 1-3-1 zone, there will be someone open from the corner to the opposite 45 if you can make that pass, but they will be always open as Harding misses their shot. Hips looks around. High ball screen set for the corner, but not taken. Around the horn, eventually settles in to Long. Long passes it back up to Hip. Hip sets it back up again. Cross to the 45. Down to the corner to Baker. Baker tries to feed into the Boy, I'm glad. I don't know if that ball exactly hit the line first, but we got the ball. Brady back to Mitchell, who happens to lead the team in multiple categories, including rebounds, points. Erroneous pass over the head by Jackson. And we're going to have a timeout, a 30-second timeout. So we'll go ahead and stay here since it's a 30-second timeout. And tonight, this production, again, is being brought to you by Harding High School Telecom. And this is mostly student-produced, student-headed, and with the exception of me and other people, Josh Votal, et cetera, that help call the games. And, of course, it's head by John Mullins. And so, again, this is all being brought to you by basically high school kids that are learning how to do this, whether by desire of profession or desire of interest. And so kind of a unique experience that our kids are able to encounter with Marion City Schools. Harding taking that timeout, down 4-2, perhaps setting up something defensively as they come out with a man defense. Hip walks the ball down the floor. Met, looked like there was going to be a half-court trap, and that's the, tough call on Paige. Paige Powers gets her first foul, team's third foul. Fouls 3-0. Tough call for the Presidents, as she kind of looked like she's falling down before. She actually really made sufficient contact, maybe rather I should say. Ball put up by Baker, off the mark. Ball rolls around. Jackson trying to find it and stepped out of bounds. Was Long, and that will be the President's ball. Pedraza getting ready to check in at the next dead ball. Or to Thompson in the corner, setting up their own trap. And missing Powers down in the box and finds her and kind of throws up a Hail Mary of a shot. Rebound given off to the Whippets. Looks down the floor, finds Schwem, and have a scrum. Schwemley got up and she continued to fight after the ball and makes the aggression foul, the frustration foul by Schwemley. Appeared shaken up, but still had enough fervency to get up and try and make the play, and she'll exit the game, as well as Booker. Jackson and Powers exit the game as well. Jackson, Mitchell, Brady, Pedraza, and Thompson in the game, and we're going to restart in the sportsmanship of everyone making sure their shoes were tied. I tell you what, that's something that you, having officiated a lot of little kids games, always checking at every dead ball. Tie your shoes. Thompson forced the pass down to Pedraza. It's hit out. Stays here with the Presidents. Thompson will enter the ball. Just kidding. Jackson will enter the ball. Out of the box set. Brady flies out to the side. Around the horn to Pedraza. Back to Brady. Back to Jackson. She drives towards the center. Instead of a bounce pass, chest pass knocked down. Ball goes around. Mitchell throws the ball out. Thompson gets her way, but it's going to be an over and back as there is no touch by Shelby. Shelby, who has been ever since entering the conference, has been the pinnacle, the standard, if you will, for the conference as far as basketball is concerned. Having their boys and their girls basketball programs, both fine programs, and Harding and Shelby typically have had pretty good games as great matchups this year. Harding's a little young, and Harding's a little bit young and still trying to learn how to play together a little bit, but really, quite frankly, though, Marion Harding putting up a good fight as Thompson puts in a 2-point shot, the long two. The lone scorer for the Presidents tonight has all 4 points so far. Loose ball, and both Hip and Mitchell diving on the floor, and the ball will stay here. The arrow will be towards the Presidents next time.
Back in the game for the Whippets, number 23, Eve
Schwemley back into the game, maybe after a cooler head has prevailed. Ball entered to Nice, around to Reiser. Reiser over to Hip. Hip puts up the three, and off the front of the iron, knocked around, and that's going to go towards the Presidents. That was a tough call for the Shelby Whippets, but the call, despite the plea by Coach Lance, will stay with the team in white. Whitaker enters the game, and she's shown some great growth over these last couple games and getting more playing time, as many of our girls have. Jackson over to Whitaker. Whitaker gives back to Jackson near the top of the key at the 45. Thompson puts up the corner three, and off the mark. Ball hit around, and that's going to remain here with the Presidents. Hit out by Schwemley. Schwemley, the 5'7" sophomore guard. Ball entered to Mitchell as Shelby continues to settle in their now 1-2-2 zone, which relieves a lot of the paint wide open if they can get a post player in there. That would be a natural place for Grace to find herself in. And another tough call, and Coach Lance seems to be losing her mind over the calls, but nonetheless, here comes the Presidents out of the box set. Thompson fakes in, steps out to the corner, down to the 45. Mitchell finds Jackson, and that is where that spot usually is open, but Pedraza passes on that. Mitchell gives to Jackson. Jackson tries to go in and throws the ball out of bounds, trying to look to be aggressive, and instead of shooting, opted to try and force a pass and just lost control. However, I will say with Jackson, she's been struggling in her confidence with the shooting, and it's just not been falling. Good forms, good shots, just not falling. And speaking of falling shots, Charlie Neese with the 3-point bucket. Ball thrown out by the Presidents, and this is almost a danger territory here for the Presidents, 7-4, and you can kind of sense the momentum going towards Shelby a little bit as Brady enters the game again, and will come in for Whitaker. But speaking about Jackson, she was much better against Guyan as she was driving in and using her athleticism to go towards the glass offensively. Ooh, tough call. And there will be 2 shots here for the Shelby Whippets. Foul call on Jackson.
for first team sport.
2 shots here for Sarah Reiser. Makes the first one. They're 1 for 2 tonight from the charity stripe. Powers enters the game. Thompson exits. Brady pulls back, hopefully for a quick offensive set upon a miss. Reiser puts up the second one, makes it. Line. Ball lost to Hip. And a frustration foul, a kind of a sloppy foul, but it was on the floor nonetheless. Powers with the second foul, 5th for the team, which looks like we might have a long half of free throws coming up. And again, as the early fouls continue to plague the Lady Presidents early on in their games. Shelby out in a 4-flat offensive set. And a miss, rebound, and now a jump ball. That's going to go Harding's way as Reiser could not hold on to the ball and escape it from the team in white. Brady will enter to Mitchell. And Shelby appears to be setting up in a man defense, denied defense. Brady has the ball, goes around, opts out to Mitchell to set up a play offensively, doesn't see anything. Thompson offers a high screen, no one really takes it. And pass centered by Brady to Jackson, hit out, will be the President's ball.
In the game for Shelby, number 10, Sophia
Long and Baker enter the game again. The Presidents take it out in a 3-1 stack. Mitchell exits out. The ball entered into Pedraza, who gives it back out to Mitchell to set up an offensive set. Weave takes place on both sides, and down in the side finds Jackson open on the triangle offense, giving Jackson her first points of the evening. 6-9, Harding Presidents trailing. The Whippets of Shelby, ball driven in, shot taken up by Baker, off the mark. Schwemley runs it down. Schwemley drives towards the elbow and then in and out. Or to Booker, who puts up a 3, and that's going to go off the Presidents and remain here with the Shelby Whippets. And again, the Shelby Whippets have been doing a lot of motion of offense and inside-outside style of play as they come out here in a box set and the one-side screens. But, almost 5 seconds there, and really playing with fire in terms of the inbound. And, a real soft tic-tac foul offered up to Jackson, but nonetheless called. And that will, again, put her in a trepidatious situation with the fouls. Hip enters the game. The 5'1" senior point guard. She exits out to get the ball and passes around over to Reiser. Puts up 45-degree angle shot off the mark. Hip gets the ball over to the sideline and put in by Sophia Long. Kiss off the glass. Kind of seemed to arc back away from the block attempt. As Mitchell walks the ball down the floor, chasing 30 seconds left into the quarter. Mitchell may be content to look for a last shot offensive set for the Presidents. Brady takes one dribble, picks it up. Mitchell comes to get the ball as Schwemley comes out to defensively pressure, and so do the Whippets. Jackson has the ball, drives in towards, gives the ball to the corner. Jackson has the ball, shoots up a long 3, off the mark. Mitchell has it and finds it in her hand and is there to take the ball and put it into the hole for her 2 points. And just like that, folks, Harding still hanging in the ball game, 11-8 in the advantage of the Whippets. Folks, we'll be right back for the second quarter. calls the one. It's the 1 calorie foul.
1 calorie foul.
It's the Tic Tac.
I heard you say
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back here for the second quarter of tonight's varsity basketball action between the Lady Presidents and the Shelby Whippets. It's Whippets begin with the game, and Hip dribbling the ball down the court. Finds Baker. The pressure being put on by the Presidents as they are setting up a half-court trap-off defensive set. And the ball going around the horn and ends up in the hands of Renee Brady after a long three and a short shot. Mitchell walks the ball down the court, over to Jackson. Jackson over to Brady. And again, offensive set, can't find Jackson in the bottom of the net. Great setup offensively, triangle offense-wise and around the net, and hustled back down the floor. Long misses a shot, and Mitchell has the ball, bringing it back for the Presidents. Mitchell off to Jackson. Jackson finds it over to Pedraza. Finding some trouble with a little bit of the offense. The last offensive set was great, giving the Presidents a nice open opportunity and the ball rattling in and out. Thompson turning around, finding no one there. Instead, opts to take the ball out instead of taking the ball to the rack. Mitchell waiting around as both teams waiting for an offensive set, and Pedraza went to go zig, and Mitchell thought she's going to zag towards her. And Whippets are going to take a 30-second timeout, only a few seconds into the quarter. We will go ahead and stay here for this timeout. And just a reminder, next week we have a few games for the both programs. The boys will play next Saturday night against the Highland Scots, and that will be a home game, of course. You can come and watch that game next Saturday evening. In addition, the girls basketball team will be playing next Friday night, against also the Highland Scots. You can come and watch and support your local teams those nights. Friday night, girls. Saturday night, boys. The Whippets get the ball. Hip bringing the ball up the floor. Being met three-quarter court by Brady, which tells you are going to have a half-court trap defense. Schwemley. Eve Schwemley shoots a three-point shot, giving Shelby a 14-8 lead. Again, the only blemish for the Whippets this year was against Margaretta, as they beat Mansfield and then they beat Pleasant in their most recent game. Almost taken away as Thompson retains possession. Mitchell drives the ball in towards the block, opts to go out to Jackson. Jackson shoots a nice shot, but off the mark, off Thompson's head, and will go to the Whippets. Hip walks the ball down the floor. Not quite the assertiveness defensively from the Presidents as before. And still setting up in a half-court trap nonetheless. Ball on the corner by Booker. The elbow back out. Hip finds the ball, eventually over to Neese. Neese looks around, back to Hip. Hip drives the ball towards the top of the key, finds Schwemley. Schwemley fakes, goes towards the third hash, and cannot find the bottom. And luckily, no foul call on Thompson as she put two hands on the back. Schwemley passes the ball out of bounds, and it will go to the Presidents. It's Coach Lance beckoning her players to shoot earlier shots, and just like that, we will have a full court press. By Shelby, and Jackson ends up with the ball after a little mismatch. And Hip ends up with the ball off of steal, looks up, finds Neese, can't retain the ball possession, and it will go towards the Presidents. Harding hanging into this game. Despite the youth and relative inexperience from the Presidents, they're finding themselves only down by 6. A dangerous pass, chased down by Mitchell. Mitchell retains possession. As you can tell, Shelby's trying to speed up the game and service themselves against this youth and inexperience. Jackson, the called traveling. Thought we might have an and one. As weird as it may be, even though that was a travel and that was called, she sees the ball go in the bottom of the hoop. That can be a confidence booster. That can be helpful for the Presidents later on. Ball given down to the block on Booker. Hip finds Schwemley. Schwemley shoots up a 3. The soft shot does not fall. Rebound taken by Pedraza, and there will be a foul contact on Shelby.
Shelby foul number 23, Eve Schwemley, her second, team second.
Eve Schwemley with her second foul as her body language shows disparage against the call as she will exit the game.
Number 20, Trinity Baker.
Baker re-enters the game. Mitchell will dribble the ball down as Shelby seems content to stay in their man defense. Knocks the ball away from Pedraza. And enters the game once again will be Paige Powers, the 5'8" senior wing, who again ruined Pleasant's senior night last year. A glorious moment for the Lady Prexy basketball program against their crosstown rivals, the Pleasant Spartans. And I don't know what we're waiting for, but coming out in a 3-man stack. Mitchell finds the ball. Mitchell looking around, drives towards the side, finds herself in pressure, alleviates out to Pedraza, top of the key, or to Brady. She gets the ball knocked away by Hip, and all of a sudden, they're on the run, and Shelby fakes the shot, looks to the corner. Nice throws up the 3, way off the mark, and through a series of events, the ball ends up staying here. No one could corral that erroneous shot. And finding the Shelby Whippets with the possession in a block formation coming out. Both players run a switch. Possession over to Long. Looks to the other side of the court to Baker. Baker goes all the way back to Long. Long cuts to the middle of the paint, finds the open shot in the middle. 5-foot bucket. 16-8 Shelby over the Presidents. About 3:30 left in the half of basketball. Mitchell beats her opponent and cannot get the and one, but she will get the 2 shots. And really, folks, I think that matchup is extremely favorable to the Presidents, and I think she's kind of starting to feel that out, where if we have Hip on Mitchell, that is athletically a large mismatch that could be taken advantage of, providing Mitchell can knock down these free throws. Mitchell makes the first.
Into the game for Shelby, number 12, Sarah Riser. Back into the game from Marion, number 32, Grace
Thompson enters the game again. She will take the second slot of the free throw. Mitchell serving up the second shot. Nails the bottom of the net. Hip bringing the ball up the floor slowly to allow Shelby to prepare for this half-court trap that will be provided. Flash to the middle of the paint by Long, out to Hip, shoots a 3, way off the mark, provided. The rebound to Brady, to Powers, to Mitchell as she looks up the floor. Harding finding themselves in an offensive set here, 2-3 against this man. High ball screen by Thompson, pick and roll. Thompson's going to, instead of the foul, she did travel before the shot was up.
into the game for Shelby, number 14, Serena Ramsey.
She took 3 steps before the shot went up. And really, you could offer and say, well, she traveled because she was fouled. And that is a possibility, but I think the officials got it right on that one. Hip passes around the key to Nice, but taken away by Mitchell. Mitchell finds herself in a 2v1 athletically and can't get the ball up sufficiently. She had to look over her shoulder, and all of a sudden, Baker on the run, finds Hip, or to Baker again. Baker shoots a three, off the clanks, off the back of the iron, and that's going to be rebounded. And that was that was a foul on their own player, and that caused Nice to throw the ball out of bounds. A little friendly fire action from one Whippet to another. 16-10. Whippets, as the Harding Prexies are continuing to fight and show some tenacity in this game, as they are just a couple plays away from making this a great ball game. They still remain inside the close and proximity of the match. Mitchell shoots a long three, nails it. Oh, and she is jazzed up. 16-13, Hip bringing the ball down, looks to Reiser, shoots the three, off the mark. No foul called on the push by Ramsey. Ball going around, and that's going to go towards the Presidents. You feel a little momentum shift here for the Prexies, and they're going to set up in a full court press. This is going to test the ability of, and the ball handed over, and Hip puts up a shot, draws a foul against Mitchell. There were no screens set out. That might have been a good opportunity for Coach White to call a timeout. Just make sure, hey, let's get this ball entered. We have some momentum. Let's make sure we do this right, do it well. Instead, there's some panic, ball thrown away. Mitchell finds herself in a precarious position. Hip draws the first free throw of this. 3 for 4 from the line are the Whippets. As Mitchell will take the shooter, and it is another set of buckets for Hip. Mitchell drives the ball. Ooh, the ball is blocked, hit out of bounds by Sarah Reiser. No foul call. But Mitchell was finding that she can use that athleticism to burn the Whippet defenders. Ball inbounded by Thompson, or to Jackson. Jackson finds Brady. Brady drives in, back out to Thompson to 45, across the court to Whitaker. Whitaker to Mitchell. Just offset the elbow. Continues to look, doesn't find anything. Going to set up. 2 high screens set, none taken. Little over 1 minute, 18-13 is the Whippets lead. Mitchell finding Jackson. Jackson takes the overextension defense, can't get the ball to go in. Jackson gets the pass from rebounded, and Brady just can't get the ball to fall in, but she will draw 2 free throws.
Whippet number 4, Charlie Meeks. Her first team's 4th at the line from Marion. Janae Brady shoots 2.
Off the mark on the first one.
Back into the game for Shelby, number 20, Trinity Baker.
Brady, the lone junior on this squad. Does not even draw the iron for the second attempt. And you know Shelby's watching then thinking, if we ever have to foul or end up fouling, they're going to start picking and paying attention to who can shoot those free throws. Ball over to Baker. Baker finds the ball over to Hip. Hip looking around, seeing how they can beat this half-court press trap, and ball finding itself down the block, off the mark. Ramsey rebounded by Brady, finds Jackson. Jackson looking up, slows it down, finds Mitchell with 40 seconds left in the half. 18-13 again, still the Whippet lead. Harding still hanging around. High ball screen given off, and Whitaker off the mark, but rebounded by Jackson. Goes around the paint, but throws it out of bounds. Dribbling across the paint, and I think if Jackson were to cut towards that basket and go up left-handed, she would score that 9 out of 10 times. Instead, just not showing a lot of confidence, just driving the ball and just having her way into it. In the paint, finds it out, and we're going to retain possession as Brady looks down the court. Brady with 5 seconds left. A little bit of a chaos, and Gracie Thompson's going to draw an unfortunate last-second foul. Literally 1.8 seconds left, and that's going to put Shelby in a position to put 2 in to extend their lead. But it will be a 1-and-1. Whippets 4 for 5 from the line tonight, showing their free throw acuity. First one up, off the mark, and put in for the extra basket. Booker puts that ball into the hole, giving the Whippets a 20-13, maybe not the free throw, but still the long lead. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back here in just a little bit. The Whippets up 20-13 over the Lady Prexies. We will be right back for second half action from Harding High School. And we are back here for the second half action of the Lady Presence versus the Shelby Whippets from One Whippet Way in Shelby, Ohio, traveling here for tonight's basketball game against our Lady Prexies, who again are coming into the game 1-2 record, and Shelby 2-1. So converse records. However, the Presidents were hanging around with the Whippets, who've traditionally had a pretty strong team, but with the loss of 3 great players from their team last year, still running a similar offense. And like our Lady Presidents, they're learning their ways and they're learning their means as the season is going to continue, and finding a 20-13 lead for the Whippets. The Presidents will start out with the basketball. Inbounded to Mitchell. As Whippets, they run their half-court press trap, and shot by Jackson off the mark, and that's going to go over to Shelby. Defensively, Harding retreats as Hip brings the ball down the court. 3-year letterman. Over in the corner, finds Schwemley. Schwemley fakes and drives to the hole, just taking it on offensively. Finds herself for her 7th point. Mitchell finding her offensive groove as she gets her own rebound out to Thompson. Mitchell finding out that she can basically offensively have her way and drive towards the hole, and she could out-athlete her opponents. As Harding comes out in a 4-man weave flat and finds Thompson the block, puts it in for a deuce. Thompson her 6th point for the night, 22-15. Ball taken into the corner there by Booker of the paint, and she finds it. And an egregious inbound by the Presidents. That's a youth error, youth mistake. Schwemley enters the ball in the block, and luckily no foul was called. Brady can't retain the possession of the ball. Ball taken out to Baker, who puts up a 3. Trinity Baker with that 3-point, and that's going to put Shelby into a double-digit lead. Mitchell finds Jackson. Jackson sees she's by herself, retreats back, has an open 3 off the mark, and Page can't hold on to that. Instead, Long got the ball and passed it off to Hip as she brings the ball up the floor. Schwemley with the ball. Drives towards the cherry stripe, finds an open lane, and this might be a good timeout time, but Corey White elects to continue playing, trying to push through these early growth curve pains from the Presidents. around the horn, ends up in Mitchell's hands. Stops at the second hash, off the mark. Thompson can't find the bottom of the bucket on the return back up, and the ball squeezes out over to Hip. She brings the ball up the floor, looks around, passes the ball back to Booker, and that's going to end up back in Hip's hands. Hip sets up the ball. Driven in there by Long, off the corner of the Peyton. Schwemley is really starting to show the offensive prowess here in the second half. She's had a couple early buckets that were really big so far, as the Presidents are going to take a timeout here. We will see whether it's a full timeout. Folks, we'll be right back for this return of the game. We'll be right back. And folks, we're back here for the third quarter. 5:11 left in the quarter. 31-15 as Shelby really has extended their lead. It was 20-13 going into halftime, and Shelby's come out and just lit it up, both with effort and just taking the ball straight to the rack, really, quite honestly. Had a good three-point shot, but really it's just been more effort overall. Jackson has the ball, gives to Thompson at the top of the key, over to Mitchell near the corner. Mitchell fakes, drives towards the basket, doesn't find an open lane. Pedraza on the elbow, and Thompson shoots a three off the mark. Hip looks down the court, finds Booker. Booker drives, shoots with the left off the mark. Mitchell with the rebound. Mitchell squeezing through our own defender. Finds Brady. Brady looks, doesn't see anything, gives it back out to Mitchell. Mitchell looks to set up the offensive set. It really looks like an ISO play. Here comes a trailing high ball screen, allowing Schwemley plenty of time to create a mismatch. Mitchell doesn't use that. Off to Brady. Pedraza gives to Thompson, and I don't know if she was looking for a backdoor pass, but no one was there. Long will take the ball in and finds herself to get a foul on the floor. There will not be shots. And Brady will have her second foul of the evening. 31-15. The Whippets will inbound the ball. Two arcs. The second arc is Hip as she takes up a three off the mark. Rebound by Schwemley. No, out to Booker for the easy two, a 10-foot shot. Ball wildly entered by Jackson. Mitchell gives off to Brady. Brady fakes to nobody, gives her to Thompson, and eventually into Mitchell for a three-point shot. Not finding anywhere near where it needs to be, off the mark, and the ball will find its way over to Hip. Hip drives the ball as Mitchell provides the defensive pressure, hands it off to Baker. Baker decides to set up the offensive set. Low down screen. Hip shoots the two-point bucket off the mark, rebounded by Thompson, and then eventually in the arms of Jackson. Brady, now Mitchell. Harding has a numeric advantage. That's why Mitchell decides to go in, pulls back, shoots the two, and the fadeaway jump shot goes in. Mitchell with her 8th point of the evening. Shelby getting a little bit sloppy with the ball possession. Hip being trapped. Finds, gets bailed out from a foul call. Seemed to be Jackson gets called for a second foul. Again, Jackson doing much better defensively, keeping her hands to herself and keeping herself out of that early foul trouble. There's another little tic-tac foul. I thought that they were going to be able to force a turnover there. Hip ends up taking over to Schwemley. Schwemley over to Reiser and finds a jump ball, and that's going to remain here for Shelby. Shelby will be taking the ball out under the basket, 33-17. Inbounded by Hip, out of the block. Fade out to the sides, hook around in the middle of the paint, finds Schwemley, fakes, goes to the side, can't get to go in. Brady gets the ball, finding she is literally guarded by three people. Somehow Thompson gets the advantage to avoid Nice defensively, and going to find a body foul, much to the chagrin of the Whippet fans. And the ball will be taken out underneath the basket. It was not a shooting foul, as I didn't think it was either. Box set. Brady flanges out to the side, eventually finds Jackson in the corner. Jackson runs to the basket, finds Brady. Brady takes directly to the basket, and she's going to draw an and one here. Brady getting an opportunity to circumvent her two free throws that she missed earlier. And still off the mark. Harding find themselves 2 for 5 from the line, but find that offensive rebound. Jackson has a nice opportunity to shoot. And plenty of time to make that nice shot. That is a huge shot for Jackson, just confidence-wise. Finding herself in rhythm, in stride, and just like that, you sense a little bit of a resurgence from the Presidents, finding themselves in a little bit of a groove here. Some subs for both teams as Mitchell will re-enter the game for Whitaker. Tell you what, right here, folks, if the Presidents can get this within 7 or so, you're still finding yourself in a ball game as the ball runs around by Brady. Mitchell steps back, shoots a shot, makes her 10th point of the night. Team leading in points. And carelessly that ball thrown out by Nice as she kind of found herself in a awkward position and tried to outset the ball, and instead it outset out of bounds rather than to the player. Harding finding themselves in a straight four. Straight four weave, and Thompson around the horn to Mitchell. Mitchell serves up a three. Off the mark. Rebounded by Jackson. No. Hit around. Erroneously and wildly shot by Nice, but we will have Ramsey shooting 2 free throws for the Whippets. Shelby 4 for 6 from the line tonight, as that one is off the mark. A couple substitutions for the Presidents. Whitaker and Powers into the game. Second free throw on the mark, as they will come out in a full court defensive spread, man to man, and it's going to be a trap that's going to leave someone open, and luckily that was not called a walk, and Powers shoots a three. She has the ability to make those, and there's going to be a charge. Oh, baby! And all of a sudden, the Presidents finding themselves chasing by 7. Just as I said, if they could find themselves within 7 points, they would find themselves in a great basketball game, and that's where we are, folks. Mitchell inbounds to Powers and back to Mitchell. Mitchell's going to be bringing the ball down the floor with about 30 seconds left. Probably anticipatory in the last shot, unless they find an easy deuce that would be available. Ball driven to the center, back out to Pedraza. Pedraza drives in. Back to Whitaker. Whitaker over to Mitchell. No foul called. No foul called, but they will remain with the Presidents. And we're going to have Jackson back into the game to find a groove. Finding that offensive set just doesn't work for what we're trying to get, to provide that penetratory threat. As Mitchell has the ball, again looks to dribble to the corner of the court, which usually signals they're waiting for the last shot. No foul continues to be called. Jackson gets the ball and just can't get it to go in, clanking off the back of the iron, and around the horn it goes, and Baker bringing it down the floor, but finds herself not able to do anything, so Long shoots the ball, and it does not go in after 3 bounces. Oh my goodness, folks. 34-27. Folks, I don't need to say anything. As the fans rally their girls to the bench, folks, we're going to be back for what appears to be a pretty exciting fourth quarter for the Harding High School Telecom production of the Whippets and Presidents basketball production.
You still think they should have stayed in the locker?
Huh?
You still think they should have stayed in the locker?
They finally got their heads out of their game games. Imagine if they didn't screw up the first 3 minutes of that quarter. That'd be a pretty daggone close game. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back here for what's shaping up to be a great fourth quarter with our Harding girls Presidents versus the Whippets. And man, I tell you what, boys and girls, it was 20-13 at the half, and Shelby, they came out swinging, hit the Presidents right in the mouth, and they responded with a great last couple minutes of that quarter, really setting the tone what could be potentially a game-changing possession right here to continue that momentum. Winning the first 30 seconds of a quarter can be extremely big, especially for girls basketball. Mitchell finds herself pressured in the corner. Can't find really anything, finds herself isolated. In fact, passes off to Jackson. Only one player down in the paint. Everything's a perimeter threat. There they go. They set back out the straight 4. And, ooh. Okay, so they called Powers for the illegal screen, motion screen, and that is a very frequent foul that is usually not called, but it must have been egregious enough to be called. Hip finds herself stopping at half court, anticipating that trap, and Shelby finds the bottom of the bucket. Sophia Long gets her 8th point of the evening. Mitchell brings the ball up the court. Presidents chasing by 9 now. Jackson will take the ball, dribbles, pulls up, long shot, high ball, high arcing shot, perhaps forced. Nonetheless, Hip has the ball, bringing it down the floor, and man, Baker had a popcorn moment. Ball slips off of her fingers. There are times where the Presidents seem to get close, but they just can't get quite close enough. Shelby does a little bit to just inch ahead further, but Shelby has not been able to really bury the hatchet, if you will. As the ball goes around the corner and at the top of the key, and Booker picks it off, takes the left hand off the mark, and the ball is hit out by the Whippets. Full court defensive threat. Ball handed off to Mitchell. finds herself with an advantage, almost getting poked at, but the ball does get poked out, and it's going to find Baker. Baker can't find anything, and the ball put up by Long. Long finds her 10th point of the evening. And Sophia Long has scored all 10 of her points almost on little low on the block shots. Oh, that's going to be it. Timeout called by Coach White as Brady was getting ready to go score the bucket. It's an unfortunate circumstance they find themselves in, but we're going to have a 30-second timeout. So, folks, we're going to go ahead and stay here. And, again, what seemed like was just almost a disastrous first 3-4 minutes of the half, which is ever so important for beginning a half well, any quarter well, especially a half. And really, man, the Whippets came out and they slapped the Presidents around, but the Presidents responded well in that last bit of the quarter, finding themselves bringing it to a few-point game. And the Shelby Whippets have extended the lead again to 11 points, 38-27. And this will be a large value possession for the Presidents. In fact, every possession will from here on out will be valuable and cannot be wasted. It's shaping up to be the kind of game the first to 45 is going to have the best chance to win, which the Presidents could get there. They've had moments where they've had the runs to be able to get to such a value. Off the mark, Jackson, good look, just can't still find the bottom of the bucket other than a handful of times. And Hip ends up getting the ball, and it finds all the way down Long. Can't get it in. She's had a lot of shots down there at the block that have been fortunate enough to go in. Mitchell has the ball for the Presidents at the top of the key. Ball bounced around the top, swings it around the gate. Pedraza tries to enter to the block, finds herself with a pass that was blocked. She tried to get it. Probably should have just let it go. Again, those are things that the Presidents are just going to get better at. The girls are going to learn by experience. If that's going out, let it go out. There's not much to benefit from saving that ball. Around to Schwemley. Schwemley, triangle offense. The ball was going to go to Long, but ends up to hit. And Jackson, had to block it in down to Mitchell. Ends up with it after almost a scared steal, but she did step on the edge line, end line, I should say, rather, giving the ball back to Shelby. Again, every possession matters, chasing just under 5 minutes left in the game. In order to get to that 45 mark, they would have to score on those, and they just are haphazardly possessing the ball. Triangle offense, in, out, ends over at Hip. Can't get the ball to go in. Mitchell gets the board, almost hit away. Deflected, being chased by Hip. She gets the ball, but she also gets Mitchell drawing the foul, and it will be taken from the sideline. Been a relatively clean half so far. Four fouls apiece. Brady will enter the ball, unopposed to Mitchell. Mitchell looking around, finds Jackson. The weave over from Brady to Powers in the corner. Powers back to Brady at the 45. Top to Thompson. Over to the other corner by Jackson. Jackson decides to try and go under, and the ball hit out by Shelby. Shelby will have Baker re-enter. As tonight, Shelby started 3 sophomores, as they appear to be young too, as a lot of the big power players for the conference, a lot of players graduated, leaving a lot of youth and inexperience for most teams in this conference. And it is just a growing experience for a lot of these girls, as Booker finds herself kind of in the middle of nowhere, drives to the hole, can't get it in there, and there'll be a jump ball from Page's rebound and Nice's defensive hands. Reiser enters the game again. Shelby will enter on a block. Risers flanges out. There's 2 rainbow cuts. And just like that, shot put up by Baker off the mark. Rebounded and then put in by Hip, the shortest player on the floor. Now with, I believe, 4 points. Doesn't usually bode well when the shortest player on the floor gets the rebound and with the trees and puts it up. Mitchell with the ball. Finds Brady at the top of the key. Shoots a shot off the mark. Powers brings the ball down. Gets it knocked out. There's a scrum and jump ball. It will be President's ball. A little over 3 minutes left in the game. 40-27. 3-1 stack. Flanges out. Mitchell puts up a 3. Off the mark. Rebounded by Hip. Hip brings the ball down. Looks, doesn't see anyone. Changes the mind. Over to Baker. Baker hands it off. Cross court to Neese, and Neese shoots a 3. She puts in that long 3. And Harding is going to end up taking a full timeout. Ladies and gentlemen, we will take a break, and we will probably be here for the rest of the game. We'll be right back. Folks, we're back here at Marion Harding High School. Again, for wrapping up the last under 3 minutes. As the Presidents inbounding the ball, Brady will bring the ball down the court instead of Mitchell, trying to get a different offensive set look. Around the top of the key and the wings, and finds Jackson. Jackson has a good look at a 3 off the back of the iron. Mitchell ends up with the ball on the rebound. Back over to Jackson. Jackson shoots up another 3 off the mark. Shelby enters the ball to Hip. Hip will bring the ball down with a 16-point advantage. Much to the confidence posture of Coach Lance at the table. Handed off. Schwemley dribbles across the lane. Taken in by Hip, as it is very obvious they're just doing a delay weave, extending the game. Schwemley tries to take it in, but then rebounded, and Jackson's going to draw the foul with the catchy hands. Her third foul, Jackson. As Shelby will try to inbound the ball. Not having much luck. 5-second call being given finally. It really didn't look like Shelby was set up to really run any offensive inbound play. They were just kind of haphazardly going along with it. Jackson will now bring the ball up the court. Drives down the wing. Finds herself stopped. Tries to throw it into Grace at the corner. And the block, and ends up with Brady's hands. She turns around and throws it in the hoop. Janae with her 4th point of the evening. Drawing it to a 14-point game, and 43-29. And 30-second timeout taken by Shelby. And folks,
30 seconds timeout.
as I said earlier, the first team to 45 very well might win this game, and that's what it's shaping up to be. I don't know if the Preds are going to be able to get up to that 45 mark. I don't believe they will be. I think Shelby's just going to find their way to waste the clock, as it appeared they were trying to do last time down the floor with their weave. So that is one thing I'm watching right now. Their coach is talking about that, about flashing and dribbling and handing off. It's pretty obvious that's what they're talking about anyways. So Harding's going to have to force some turnovers, or if they're going to start fouling, this is the time to start fouling to try. The earlier you foul, the earlier you get to the 1-on-1s, and if they miss, that gives you an opportunity to get the ball down and score, so they don't weave the ball to death. Schwemley enters the ball to hip. Always the indicator of a good weave. Your post player usually will stay near as they can flash through that free throw line, but they forced it rather than just weaving. And almost given away by Schwemley again. Hip finds a wide open long again. That's her 12th point tonight, and it's all from the block. Under 1 minute and 45:29. Jackson Mitchell drives to the paint, off the mark, and that's going to be off the Presidents. Going to go back to Shelby, and Nice will enter the game. Round of applause given to Hip from the Shelby fans for her efforts running the ship tonight. Shelby will find themselves in the corner to shoot a three, off the mark. Jackson gets the ball, and there will be a little bit of a delayed foul called on Trinity Baker, body foul.
Shelby foul number 20, Trinity Baker. For first team Smith.
A little over 30 seconds left in the ball game. Brady gives over to Jackson. Jackson waiting for some sort of offensive motion movement to take place. Finds Mitchell. Mitchell serves up a three. Finds the bottom of the net. For her 12th point of the evening. Shelby dribbles around, and it looks like Mitchell is trying to foul her, and she appears to be gassed. Just tired and frustrated. 45-32 is Presidents just could not find a good rhythm consistently. They found moments of greatness and flashed moments where they really showed great possession and movement and shots, but just could not find consistency. Jackson dribbles out the rest of the game. 45-32. Shelby Whippets go to 3-1 and 2-0 in the conference, as the Lady Presidents go to 1-3 and 1-1, drawing 500 for the conference. And again, folks, we will have the Lady Presidents home next Friday against the Highland Scots. Next Saturday night, it will be the boys playing the Highland Scots. Both games will be home. Come out and support our kids and enjoy some concessions and just